And it's something that is affecting a lot of persons. You see it, but sometimes you don't even know that you're seeing it around you. And this is why it's important for us to create the awareness. But just as it pertains to this presentation itself, some key things that I want you guys to understand are basically one, I'm here to provide you with a comprehensive understanding of what gender-based violence is, because human trafficking is actually a form of gender-based violence. Secondly, I'm here to provide you with the definition of the term human trafficking and to expound on what trafficking is. And through this, I will highlight, for example, how victims are recruited. I'll also be able to also be identifying signs of victims of trafficking, as well as at the end of it, we're talking about all of this, but we then have to identify the agencies to support persons who are victims of human trafficking. And in the case that you need to go ahead and make a report. All right, good to go. Just highlighting that I'm actually from the Bureau of Gender Affairs, Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport. And we're located at 46 Trafalgar Road, Kingston 5. And though we operate from one head office, we actually work all 14 parishes. Good? And just to state to you that one of the main things that we do at the Bureau is that we engage in programs and initiatives that seek to basically empower Jamaicans overall towards towards empowerment and also human capital. But let's get into it. What is gender-based violence? And how is human trafficking a part of gender-based violence? First and foremost, when we're looking at the definition of gender-based violence, it states that it is any act directed at someone because of their sex and gender that results in physical, sexual, and/or psychological harm or suffering. According to statistics, it states in totality that approximately 900 million persons are affected by gender-based violence. But guess what? For the most part, you will not hear someone say, I am a victim of gender-based violence per se, because it is actually an umbrella terminology in which many forms or many acts fall within that, under that umbrella. But something I need you guys to note is, when it comes on to gender-based violence, there has to be three things that are present in order for it to actually happen or occur. One, it is violence involving men, women, boys, and girls. Secondly, it looks at power and control, and it's basically unequal power relations. So there has to be some form of tug and war. There has to be some form of control taking place in order for gender-based violence to actually take place. Now, when I said to you earlier, you will not hear persons oftentimes say I'm a victim of gender-based violence. We're looking at things, for example, domestic violence, where in Jamaica it states that 1 in every 4 Jamaican women has actually reported being physically or sexually abused by the hand of their male partner. And when we're talking about even domestic violence as a form of gender-based violence here, while we're talking about that, it also states that 40% of men are in their relationships and are being abused, but choose to remain silent because of the culture and expectations placed on men within our society. When we're talking about, for example, rape as a form of gender-based violence, we're saying as well, how many persons actually know? 4 out of 5 persons who have been raped actually know who the perpetrator is. Because for the most part, when it comes on to even rape, it's not stranger who rape you for the most part, but the people who your children are called uncle, who are called, the dad over there, so the neighbor and stuff like this, right? That's how it works. And just to highlight something, though our constitution does not state that a man can be raped, but a man can be raped, but it's not termed as rape itself. Under our constitution, it states, it looks at grievous sexual assault, or it looks at buggery taking place. All right? Good. And just to mention as well, lastly, looking at incest. How much people know that incest still go on in Jamaica? Happy nice. Now bring the embarrassment to the family. Happy nice and move on. But it is happening where, again, as I'm saying, some fathers feel that they should pick the apple first. You have some persons who still have the belief here in Jamaica where if I have intercourse with a virgin, I can be healed. These are perceptions that people actually still do have here in Jamaica. Now let's get into the meat of the matter, human trafficking. In 2010, Rowan Ebanks, a fisherman from Burn Savannah in St. Elizabeth, along with two other individuals, took upon themselves on a boat and went to Haiti. When they went to Haiti, they met a father and his daughter in Haiti. When they met upon them, you know things are going on. You know, I was here say people are going through a whole heap of poverty. People are eating mud and stuff like that, mud cakes. So we hear about these things that are happening. So what Ronnie Banks said to the father was that if your child comes back with us to Jamaica, I can provide her with better educational opportunity, right? As a result of that, they were won over. They took themselves, and it's actually, I said before, it's a big case in the paper, and they took upon themselves, went on the boat, and again, I want to say to persons, the waters are way more active than people think it is, right? The family, basically, they went on the boat to come over to Jamaica, and based on the report, it said that within 28 minutes of being in the boat with Ronnie Banks, the father was killed in front of the child and thrown overboard. Now, because of fear and everything, the child would not even want to attempt to do anything at all. And at the time, that young girl was 13 years old. She wasn't thinking about doing anything at all. What then happened is, Ronnie Banks brought the young lady to his home, where he also had his common law woman in a common law wife in the home. And it was stated that for 3 years straight, one, this young girl did not go to school. She became a sex slave, where to the extent of which almost every single night she was sexually abused almost every single night in that household. It went to the extent of which she became pregnant and was forced to do her own abortion inside the household. It was stated that after she was rescued by CTOC, which is a special force within the JCF, it was stated that she attempted to commit suicide around 16 times afterwards because of what she went through and the shame and disgrace that she had to endure during the time that she was there. And persons might be saying, trafficking going on in Jamaica, it is right before your eyes, but you don't know it. Good. Now, it states now, imagine this happening to you. And I want to show you some images. We're looking at the whole thing of domestic servitude. We're looking at the whole thing of organ removal, organ harvesting. And we're talking about the fact that when I grew up out here, say, black heart man. But black heart man is real. You have instances, and it may not be popular here in Jamaica itself, but it happens in other Caribbean countries. Where, for example, according to statistics that shown, some people see this as a game, you know. Whenever about Squid Games that you see on going on Netflix, Squid Games are real. Where you have some people who, them just in it for the fun to kill people because them have the money to do it. It is stated that, for example, at the time, probably around in 2016, that a kidney was being sold on the black market for about 40,000 euros. And that's about 41 million Jamaican dollars. Because guess what? You have people out there who want kidney, who want heart, who want different body parts. And again, not only because they're not well, but some people see these things as games. And they bid. There was a case even here in Jamaica, and again, that's why I said to people, you have to be careful how children are on the internet. Because people can be easily fooled. You had an instance where, for example, on the black market, they wanted a 6-year-old girl in Jamaica because they wanted her to do certain things. So there was bidding for them to basically buy a 6-year-old girl here in Jamaica because they wanted to commit different acts. These things are happening. Now let's get into it. What is human trafficking? It is defined it's also known as trafficking in person, which involves the recruitment. So three things need to happen in order for human trafficking to be present. You have the recruitment, the transportation, the harboring, and again, the other part, the sale of human beings for the purpose of exploitation. So it starts out with recruitment, and you might be asking, how does that happen? How does that occur, basically? So it says the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, or receipt of persons. And how do they go about doing this? Threats. If you not do this, I'm going to kill your mother. If you don't do this, I'm going to hurt you. Under threats. And another thing that they say, use of force, coercion, abduction. And I don't know how many persons actually remember a case in which a lady from St. Mary saw an ad in the paper for Montego Bay for a hotel. And to this day, they cannot find her. So again, you have to be so careful. A lot of abduction. And even regarding when we're talking about abduction and fraud, how many persons actually know that? The new trends that are happening with human trafficking is one, women are leading when it comes on to the trafficking trade, being recruiters. And let me explain to you how it works. Now, if you're taking a taxi and you see two women in a taxi along with the driver, you don't feel like you want to go in there? Me feel safe if you go in the car, you know? And that time, you don't know, say, them they set for you. So these are things that are actually happening. Another form when it comes on to even abduction and deception. And this is why I say to children oftentimes, be careful of the buses that you're going in. Because a lot of times the sounds, the loud music are basically muffling what is going on inside the buses. Sometimes you feel so okay then, or they might enjoy themselves and everything, but you don't know what going on in the bus them at times. And that's why I say to a person, you have to be vigilant. You have to be careful. And I don't want to go too much in my presentation, but let me hold off. It says, abuse of power, position, vulnerability, receipt of payments and benefits, right? And it says purpose, exploitation. All them want is to exploit you. And when it comes down to victims of human trafficking, oftentimes they're found dead or they're never found. If you think about it, they're never found. Abuse of others, sexual exploitation, I will go further into this. Forced labor, slavery, as I said before, or similar practices, servitude or removal of organs. And this all constitutes human trafficking. And just to note, human trafficking is actually considered as modern day slavery. You remember we talked about the transatlantic slave trade? But what if me tell you, say, human trafficking is much bigger than that right now. It's a much bigger thing than persons think it is. And when we're talking about it as well, it is stated that according to the International Labour Organization, in 2017, they said that human trafficking generated between US $32 to $150 billion in illegal profits. We are talking about big money thing. It is stated as well when it comes down to human trafficking, it is actually the third largest illegal trade worldwide. So you have guns, and you have drugs, and you have human trafficking. Who transports the guns and the drugs? Humans. And this is what we have to look at here in Jamaica. When it comes down to it, it says 40.3 million persons were in modern day slavery as of 2016. 71% were females and 29% were males. And again, when it comes down to trends, them want more young boys. Them want more young boys. And again, this is why we're saying to you, watch out when it comes on to your children. Be careful when it comes on to your children, especially when they're navigating the web. The web is more dangerous than you crossing the very road at this point in time. All right? Good. Now, the question lies, we are talking about human trafficking. What exactly? Is there something called child trafficking? Well, there is. When it comes down to child trafficking, now we're talking about an organized movement of a male or female under the age of 18 years old crossing within the country or across borders. And there are certain things that constitute child trafficking. One, it renders the child vulnerable. We're looking at exploitation for forced labor, sexual exploitation, or the removal of organs. And it also involves the child working when he or she is too young. And what happened is, some years ago, a person recruited 21 children from a corporate high school in Kingston via online, right? What then happened is, after recruitment, these young persons were actually dispersed throughout Spanish Town with pans in their hands to basically beg. And this is where it comes on to the whole thing of forced begging, which is also a part of human trafficking, child trafficking. I say to persons, sometimes you see them on the road, but you don't know, say, they're actually being forced to be there. And sometimes as well, I've seen where in cases where if they're not bringing enough money and they do what they're supposed to do, they're being whipped. They're being beaten. And hammers are being used to hit their fingers because they're not doing what they're supposed to do. This is what we're talking about. And even so, as we're talking about child trafficking, I'm sure this case should resonate with all of you, where a mother here I think she's 43 years old, in Manchester, that was actually charged for child trafficking, recent in a few months past, where this mother, she went to a bar, ordered some liquor. You remember the case? She ordered some liquor and could not pay for the liquor. So what she did was she gave over her daughter in exchange for the payment. I said to the man, said, go and go do some things with her now to pay back for the liquor. So these are things that we're looking at that are happening. You have mothers as well who are selling their children because they want to earn some money. These are things that constitute child trafficking and human trafficking overall. Now, when we're talking about ways of trafficking, again, I spoke about the fact that you have internal and external trafficking. And it says when it comes on to internal, we're talking about persons being moved from parish to parish, the different places basically to be exploited. And what happened is, there's a place in Runaway Bay, Salem Runaway Bay, known as Truck Stop, right? Where police clamped down on some persons that were there, right? That were basically having young girls in basically sex trafficking. And when they found these girls, they were in and out of consciousness because they were constantly being drugged to participate in these acts. This is why we need to be in the know. When we're talking about, for example, external trafficking, I'm working here at the Bureau of Gender Affairs, and we've had basically persons from Honduras. We've had persons from different South American countries coming into our waters under false pretense, because that constitutes the whole thing of fraudulent. Okay, come here for job opportunities. And when you look, that was not really what they actually did. So that's where we're saying to you, external trafficking. And let me just even give you a case at hand. I think when we spoke to the persons at JCF and they found this 15-year-old Guyanese girl, I think they found her in Kingston, they rescued her in Kingston. They said you could not think of where things were not poked or placed in this young lady. There are children in the room, so you know I have to be very discreet. But I'm saying they said they could not tell which part they never put certain things on this young girl. All right? Types of trafficking. Spoke about sex trafficking. We know what this looks at. We look at the whole thing of child trafficking, forced labor. And this is where I talk about the whole thing of take a person from country, carry them come to town. We say, okay then, I don't have the money, but go on your family yard. You know, your auntie probably have a little bit better. And when you look at it, this child never go to school. She's inside the house there working. And nothing is being done to basically help this person. And this is what we're looking at when it comes down to forced labor. Let's go into international waters now. You have certain countries, for example, in Africa, where, for example, the recruitment starts from the child is about 6 or 7 years old, where they recruit them to basically work on farms. And even as they talk about the whole thing of child soldiers, this is what we're looking at. So they're brainwashed from early to do things like this, to work on farms, to work in gold mines. Because sometimes what happens, because when you're too big, you can't go in the little hole and go do what you need to do. So they send these children inside the holes to basically do what they need to do. And sometimes what happens, sometimes these very mines collapse on these persons in there and kill them. So this is what we're looking at when it comes down to types of trafficking. It says debt bondage. So what do? You basically give over the person to work a certain amount of time. And oftentimes when we're talking about debt bondage, what we're looking at is, and I'm not saying all cases, sometimes when you see the Indians them and the Chinese them in the places them, sometimes they're not here because they want the year, Sometimes because of debt bondage while they're here, And we've seen where in cases where persons have actually been arrested because of the whole thing of a traffic them basically. All right? Good. We're talking about organ harvesting and organ transplanting. Another thing that we're looking at is the fact that, especially in, like, for example, Asian countries, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, and stuff like that, what might happen is, let's say you go on one party, and again, when they're looking for organs, they don't want you to be too up in that age, because guess what? They need the organs them for being hearty and nice and everything. So what happens is, apart from the fact that you have sometimes people do sell their organs, especially their kidneys, you have persons who will sell it, but you also have where what happens is you might go to a party, you might go to an event, and what they do is they drug you and take out the organ out of your body. And sometimes if them feel like, okay, I'm happy, I'm okay with it, they'll sew you back up and allow you to go. But other times what will happen is that they will leave you for dead because they don't want anything else to do with you. And this is what we're talking about when it comes down to organ harvesting and transplanting. And lastly, we're looking at the whole thing of sex tourism. And I'll show you a little video a little bit further down about sex tourism here in Jamaica. You have cases where, again, family members will basically have their young girls go to hotels. They call them escorts sometimes. They'll go there and sell their children to tourists. They'll sell them to tourists. And again, on the black market, they may say, I want a virgin. And what will happen is they give a higher bid because they want a virgin girl. And parents, I said before, persons will go ahead and sell their children because they want a money. Or family members will sell their children because they want a money. How are persons trafficked? By a trusted friend, neighbor, or family member. Again, another part of it is, and even let me just say to you, how are they recruited? Family member. A lot of times what will happen is, again, as stated earlier, persons are oftentimes found dead or they cannot be found, right? When I say by a friend, neighbor, or family member, you feel that if somebody is in the trade and they're on the phone talking to you, then go tell us that don't come. When they're under somebody's control, you think they'll say to you, do not come? Because the trafficker needs persons in the trade. So they'll tell you to basically recruit your friend to come on the trade as well. And a lot of times what is happening is the person's above you, the person's there telling you exactly what you need to do. This is what we're looking at We're talking about multimedia advertising on the internet and the newspapers. And everything is greener on the other side. But sometimes someone will just chuck off. Them appear more money when you chuck off and gone at the jobs. You have to ask questions. You have to call and basically ensure for a fact that the place that you want to go to is actually legitimate. It's legit, basically. And to know, just to confirm with persons here, question. If you want to find out that a place is basically real or not, where do you go to find out this? If it's an overseas program that you're applying for, and you're not sure about the place, how can you find this out if it's real or not? Where? Ministry of Labor. Ministry of Labor actually has a web on their website itself. You can go there, the overseas part, you can go there, click on the link, and it will tell you the places or the organizations that are actually real from real, so you can know for a fact that if this place is actually real or not. And we've had instances here in Jamaica where persons have gone abroad and basically they have been trafficked. We have instances where in which persons go to the small islands, and as soon as they go there, their passports are being taken away from them. You have to pay attention. You have to pay keen attention. Family sales. Again, as I said before, you have instances where there was, I don't know if it has been stopped now, where you had babies that were basically being trafficked here in Jamaica, that were being stolen and being trafficked here in Jamaica. And another thing that is sometimes done as well that you see, sometimes you see a woman walk up and down with a baby in her hand, begging for money. And sometimes based on investigation, the baby is actually not hers. But the baby's been moved to different locations and stuff like that to beg for the money. Because again, people feel sorry for people when they see a woman with baby in her hand. Right? Good. Promises of employment, study abroad opportunities. And again, another person fell short when he came on to this here in Jamaica. Studying abroad opportunities where she ended up in the human trafficking trade abroad. You have to question certain things. Do not take things at face value. Right? How does somebody become a victim of human trafficking? The offer sounds like a job that could pay more. No. Here in Jamaica, I think they had done a clampdown on a massage parlor place where masseuse come and you will be paid $300 an hour to just basically be a masseuse. But when you get to the location, I know masseuse them want. And not only that, they let you know for a fact that you have to pay to basically to stay at the place, and how you pay for it is through doing certain things, because guess what? You have to clear your debt. So persons are forced to do things that they do not want to do. There was a case in America where this young lady, I don't remember which state she was actually living in, but she met a young man I'm going to say young man, she met a man that was living in Las Vegas. Now, she had a young child and she really needed some help. So she basically said to the gentleman, the man said to her, come move up to me, come move up and come to Las Vegas where you can get better work, better opportunities for yourself and your child. Wow, this sounds very good. What then happened is, after she went to the apartment and she said that, they had to sleep on, sleeping bags and stuff like that. The gentleman said to her, let me take you out tonight. She said, okay, no problem. She said that she thought that she would have been going to a restaurant with this gentleman. Instead, he took her to a dead end road. So when she got there was actually a building there, and she was like, what could this building be there for? The gentleman made her know that it was an escort building for escorts. And she did a begging man, so why me need to go in there? Why you go reduce me to doing all of these things? And the man made her aware that, guess what? You have to pay me back for all that I've done for you. Said that when she went inside, somebody was already there, basically paying up their money to basically do whatever with her. And this is where she had to be rescued eventually. After years of being in this situation, she was then rescued. You see people and sometimes do not know that they're actually being trafficked. Let's go. Now, methods of control. Again, I spoke about it, debt bondage. And something that a trafficker loves to do is to isolate you. Cut you off from everybody around you. And for the most part, when it starts out with the whole thing of isolation, I want to say this to persons. If somebody is able to control your mind, they're almost able to do anything at all to you. Once they're able to get your mind in a particular box, they're able to do almost anything at all to you. So what they try to do is to isolate persons. It's your threats to these persons. They look at the whole thing again. Oftentimes, human trafficking is associated with force, drug use. So to get the person to do what they want to do, oftentimes what they do is basically to drug these persons. Remind me, what's the name of the movie where this man had to rescue his daughter? And they end up having, I think, about 3 series of it. This human trafficking video. Taken, correct. If you can recall in that video, when you looked at it, for the most part, a lot of these girls were being injected. They were under drugs, right? And I said this is one of the major things that they actually do to hold persons hostage. Right? Good. It also looks at the whole thing of confiscation of travel documents. Hear me out, people. Something you need to remember. Whether you think you're being trafficked or not, if you go foreign, whether a little foreign or big foreign, never allow your passport to be out of your sight. Never give somebody your passport to hold on for you, because at the end of the day, your passport is your identity. Always hold on to your passport. And what we found is, I don't remember which Caribbean island it was, and they had to be rescued. Some persons who were doing domestic work went to a Caribbean island here in the Caribbean, and they were held hostage there. They could not move. Their documents were taken away from them. And that is why I said before, knowledge is power, because sometimes you yourself don't know. Right? Good. Now just quickly running through this part. Oftentimes what we find out, we stated it earlier, travel documents are taken away. There's no money. Victim may not know anyone and is too scared to look for help. Because what oftentimes happen is them basically beat them down to the extent of which them afraid if they go even ask for help. To me, sometimes when I think about it, it comes sometimes like human trafficking is worse than sometimes domestic violence. So we have them, put them in a corner so much in which they're so afraid of talking about the issue. And they're so afraid to basically say, I am being trafficked. When we're talking about it again, we look at the whole thing of physical, sexual, and emotional and psychological abuse that takes place. And what may happen is the language of the country may be different from that of the victim. So especially, for example, within European or Asian waters, what they tend to do is that to take them across the border to countries where they can't understand. So if you can't understand the language, how you go communicate? So that's a way of bondage, a way of holding persons within a particular corner. And the victim does not know where to go. And on this point, let me just ask of you, how many persons here know the number for the police station in this area? And I'm not talking about 911 or 119, what we call. How many persons here actually know the number for the police station in your area? The fact of the matter is, I said before, a lot of us take it, we don't need to worry about that. Police station, they're right, we can't easily get whatever. But what is so important for you guys to do is, you need to have a telephone number for the police station in your area. And I'd also say this to persons as well. Your pitney need to have the number for the police station in this area. We put so many things in our phone, but sometimes we don't put the important information in our phones. When you are, for example, going into a vehicle, I said before, you have to pay attention. Sometimes take a glimpse at the license plate now. Look at the license plate number. If you're going to a particular location that you do not know, especially outside of your parish, do you, for example, question and say, okay, then I'm going to go to Dana house. What is close to Dana house if we need to run or something like that that's supposed to happen? Where's the closest police station? Sometimes I think I asked somebody who had traveled recently. She went to Florida recently, and I said to her, where did you go? You know, I said, I don't know. But that's no said, then they come pick me up from the airport. So nonchalant. And I'm saying, in this day and age, it's not like before. We don't live in a country anymore. I said before, let me not say anymore, but less than where people are looking out for each other. We're here in a very selfish world now where people are really actually not business about you. And as a result of that, you have to be assertive. You have to be aware of the dangers that are out there. You have to be assertive. Especially now when human trafficking is actually on the rise. Go down. Now, where can victims be found? Bars, of course. A lot of times bars. And sometimes when these girls are in the bars, we don't know the type of bars I'm talking about. Not just to serve liquor in the bars, but sometimes you see them dancing in the bars. You have to look out for that. And oftentimes I've seen where some of these girls are under the age of 16 years old doing these things in the bars. When we're talking about, it says massage parlors. And again, we know about the whole thing of pedophiles. A lot of men out there are preying on young girls because they're easily manipulated. And again, I want to pick the cherry. When we're looking at it again, we're talking about hotels and nightclubs, resort areas. We're talking about escort services. And sometimes, again, I've heard, you see some of these young girls in the banks, right? Right behind the desk and everything, and you don't know what they might do at night time. You don't know what they're doing at night time. And again, just speaking to this, and I say forced begging. Sometimes you see, even the windshield wipers. And all of them did it because they wanted it, you know. And all of them did it because they wanted it. Sometimes they're forced to be there. And not only just to talk about forced begging, but I've seen oftentimes where a lot of them end up being basically sexually assaulted because of where they're at. Because again, if you have money and the man come and pick you up and say, you know, we can get 15,000 and if you sit on here and beg and wipe whatever something, you know. These are things that do happen here in Jamaica. And lastly, it says private homes. Here the people basically go say, you know, you're here to do this and that in a particular home, and we know what then happens. Just running through, it says, how can you identify a victim of human trafficking? One, you see evidence of control and lack of ability to move or leave a job. Them can't go about them business. They can't leave as them want. And again, when I say to persons, even if you look at some of these Chinese and these Indian places, them can't step outside. They cannot leave the compound. You have to question these things. And I said earlier, I said this lady's face right there doesn't necessarily mean that they're victims of human trafficking, but these are some of the things that do happen. These are some of the signs. We're looking at the fact that bruises or other signs of physical abuse. You have to look out for this. Another thing is that, does this person have his or her document or has none? Lack of ID or immigration documents. Looking at the fact that this person appears to be under control. And I'll explain to you. The person go to hospital. you are the victim. What the nurse might say to the person, what is wrong with you? Well, she explained to me that her hand is hurting her. She's having pain in her hand. Might turn to the victim and say, anything else? No, man, she's okay. She's okay. I checked on her. She's okay. Yeah, not giving the person a chance to talk any at all. I am the main guardian. Things that you have to look out for. Right? And even so, I remember there was a case in which a flight attendant was able to rescue a young boy, I think a child, on a plane. And how they went about doing it again, and this is why they tend to have these trainings for flight attendants to know how to pay keen attention to the signs of human trafficking. How they were able to basically rescue this child was basically having the child go to the bathroom and leaving a note in the bathroom to say, if you are being trafficked, put something, put an indicator that you are being trafficked. So these are things you have to pay keen attention to, and especially in the airport itself, that's a major trafficking platform where persons used to basically do their things. So you have to pay keen attention, especially if you're in the airport on the look, somebody has all the person's documents, and them are big adults. You have to pay attention. Another thing that we're saying to you as well is the person is unable to move to another location. We know this. Does not manage his or her money. And as I stated earlier, I work in the bureau, and we've had in our shelters, where in which we've had persons coming from different countries. For example, I said Honduras. What they came in was under false pretense, where they were told that you're coming to make good money, relationship and stuff like that. When they end up being in relationship with this man, end up start beat her out and start basically prostitute out these persons. What then happens is we had to basically rescue these persons and then contact their consulates and stuff like that and have them sent back to their countries. You might not see them, but I'm saying to you, persons are moving in and around our countries when they realize that they're actually being trafficked. And again, I said it earlier, the waters out there are active. You have cases in which men will probably say, I don't know the navigation point and how them do it. But you have cases where in which boats will meet out at sea, where drugs need to be dropped. It is dropped and passed and sent over here in Jamaica. And it's the same way where they'll meet out at sea and have persons transported or moved how they want them to be moved. And lastly states that if you see where multiple persons are living within a space, a small space, that person could actually be a victim of human trafficking. And oftentimes what happens is persons are packed up, especially when it comes down to prostitution shops. They're packed up in one area a whole lot together. Just running through. No, we're talking about all of this. But how does it impact our country? For one, it undermines the health, safety, and security of all nations it touches. We're looking at the fact that victims suffer from physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. And I spoke about it earlier where the young girl, the 13-year-old girl, I think at the time then she was 16, where she wanted to commit suicide, attempted to commit suicide about 16 times. When you go through psychological manipulation and psychological abuse, right? It pushes you to do a lot of things. And sometimes, again, persons feel so worthless after, to the extent of which they no longer want to live. Especially, for example, we're talking about stuff such as HIV and AIDS, where if you have no autonomy over your body as to what happens and says if protection should be used, then these things can result. And persons might find that, guess what, I'm filthy. I don't want a life after all of these things. So this is what we're looking at. It says it also deprives persons of their human rights and freedom. It's also a global risk that fuels organized crime. I said this earlier. One, what we're finding is that, stated it, increased female traffickers. Men are no longer just, they're there, but women are also pimps. Me a mother, Me at the mama. And I've been to, for example, because what we do at the Bureau as well is that we go to sessions where we have persons who are prostitutes. And we talk to them. And sometimes when we go there, another man, and it's not a man that is there, you know. And it's a woman there who are the governance. She are the governor. And when we talk to some of these persons, this lady said to us that she was in the trade from she was about 12 years old. And that is how serious it is. And just to mention as well, sometimes when you see in the news where persons are missing, sometimes they're actually, quote unquote, not missing. But sometimes these things have to be put out there to basically protect individuals. And I'll explain to you. I'll explain. For example, if a Don wants a young girl, you get me? If a Don wants a young girl, what will then happen is the police will do undercover operations where, for example, let us say you go to school but you're not going to return because we know what we have to do at this point in time. But in order for us to cover the situation at hand and to make persons believe, I'm going to come out and say, what my daughter there? My daughter missing, she run, we are gone. Who could I take her away? You get what I'm saying? So these are sometimes things that do happen. And sometimes we might say what the JCF do. I think currently as we are speaking, it might not sound a lot, but I think there's about 125 cases that have actually been prosecuted and persons have been charged for trafficking here in Jamaica. So they're working on it. I know for a fact there's a lot that needs to be done, but the JCF is working basically to prosecute persons. And at the end of the day, even though I'm talking to you right now, we know for a fact that the JCF can do so much and no more. On the basis where you're here to be your hands on our feet and to tell people about these things and to report these instances. Not to mention as well, children are now being trafficked for pornographic movies. I spoke about it earlier. You have some persons who are pedophiles. And for some reason, to video and to do things to a little child is something that they find to be, something that they love to do. And this is why I say to people, say to mothers, you need to watch your pitney them. Not just watch your pitney them, but sometimes I know for a fact you're so busy. But you have to see the body changes, the changes in your child. Pay attention to that. If, for example, previously you could have beard the pitney out of the blue child now want you to beard them, question why your child now want you to beard them anymore. If, for example, your child never used to wet the bed, why out of the blue you fancy your pitney who was 16 years old and wet the bed? Question certain things. Why out of the blue your child have an order, but they never used to have an order in a certain places? You have to question these things. And I know sometimes as parents, you are busy, but you have to be careful. Not only that, just stating to you as well, when you have your child navigating the internet, I remember, I think there was a case in which a young girl met up with a man in Crossroads in Kingston. I don't know if she's ever been found afterwards. She met the gentleman on social media and went to meet up with that person in Crossroads. You have to watch, even when your child is on the internet, you have to monitor what you're putting them at do. There are ways in which you're able to monitor the movements of your child on the internet, what they're doing. Make them say you're fast. Make them see you too much in them life. But at the end of the day, I tell you, say, when they become adult, they'll be glad for that. Right? Good. When your child is going, for example, leaving to go places, and even as adults, say where you go to somebody. Say where you're going to somebody. Say where you're going to somebody. I know for a fact that some of you want people know your business. But in this day and time, somebody have to know your business. Best believer. All right? And even for your child as well, Parents, ensure for a fact that even with the little ones, that you put numbers, information in their lunch kits, in their bags. So for a fact, in the case of anything at all, they can be found. Something can pick them up, say this is your child. Let us say that they do go missing. Let us say. But if you put tags and certain things on the bags and stuff like that inside the bag, they're able to pick up, say, okay, this is where the child was before. You have to be wise. And again, teach your child exit strategies. In the case certain things that happen to them and them not comfortable, make them know so them for ball out or do what them need to do. Say to the grandchildren them, the mother say them to be modest and let your child know when it's actually, as I say, good or bad touch. So they can't ball out and say, no, don't do it. And parents and guardians as well, ensure for a fact that you develop something with your child in which they start to trust you. They can come to you and say certain things to you. Please. Running through quickly. All right. When it comes down to this, the way based on how human trafficking was becoming very popular here in Jamaica, becoming prevalent rather, there was the creation of the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons within the JCF in 2005. And these are some of the things that the government has been doing. They now have, for example, a shelter here in Jamaica established basically deal with victims of human trafficking. So persons are trafficked, they can actually be placed in a shelter, right? You even have as well where an act is now there where persons can be prosecuted under the the Trafficking in Persons Act of 2007. So don't believe that the government is just sitting there, but things are actually being done. As well as I'm from the Bureau of Gender Affairs, and this is where we create basically awareness around the topic itself. Just running through quickly, that before, what is now happening is there's also an introduction of TIP, that's a Trafficking in Person curriculum in secondary schools, because again, a lot of children are being recruited. So what they're doing basically is to create a curriculum to make persons aware of what trafficking is. And currently, what is happening is you have a rating to see how our country is actually doing when it comes down to trafficking in persons. And currently, when it comes down to Jamaica itself, it says that we moved from tier 2 watch list where they're saying that Jamaica was barely doing the basic. But based on work that has been put in, Jamaica has now moved up to tier 2 itself, where they're saying that we're doing well but need to improve in other areas. So Jamaica is doing something, but we need to do more. And this is where I'm saying to you, I'm recruiting you as advocates to tell other persons about human trafficking, black heart man the boat. Now, closing off, where do I get help? Number one, I don't know if you can see it clearly itself based on how the screen is, but it says, how do I get help? Apart from calling 119, you can also contact the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons, not for tip, and the number is 908-5510-906-4923. I actually have some brochures in my car to actually issue out to you. I left them in the car. And also what you can do is, you can contact us at the Bureau of Gender Affairs where I work. Our number is 876-553-0370 if you can't get through to them. We actually have a helpline. In the case you need to talk to somebody, we can actually refer you to the relevant authorities. All right? I actually have a video for you guys to watch. Let's hope you can hear it clearly about human trafficking. So what happened is that there was a sting operation that was actually done in Kingston some years ago on human trafficking, where some international funders came here in Jamaica to basically do some undercover operation. And here's what they found. if I can find how. No.
I've basically just been visiting the tourists. I didn't walk far. I just walked outside the hotel, and my first year was offered girls 13 and 14 years old. I have been offered girls as young as 12. And we have also been documenting girls who are Jamaican girls who are taken from Jamaica to other countries for their sexual slavery, basically. So again, we're getting all this information together. We don't intend to embarrass anyone. We want to give it to Victor and to your team so you can follow up on it. But tonight we just wanted, because this was, because we were here and because we had a good relationship with Victor, we really wanted to act rather than just give you the information and then, maybe weeks or months later you had the opportunity. We thought, while we're here and while I'm here and I still have the relationship with these criminals, suspects, that we invite you to seize that opportunity when they bring these girls. And you're 15. You look younger, like 13, 14.
Yeah, man, she had 13 plus, man. She's 13 plus.
You're 15?
No, she not reached 15 yet. She had 13 plus.
How old are you really?
Soon 14. September I'm 14.
Oh, September you're 14. Great. So you're 13 right now. When's your birthday?
September.
Yeah. What day?
26.
26 September. You'll be. Oh, that's great. So you're still in school right now. What school do you go to? You're happy to have sex with me? Is that okay? And I give you 300, okay? And I'm giving Tony 100 US for introducing you and Sasha to me. So again, is there a problem with your mother? Does she know? Did you tell her today?
No. But just like this now, I don't let you know now because I can get her out her house whenever time I'm ready, okay?
Oh, you can?
Yeah, I can.
Why? Does her mother...
Yeah, she trusts me.
She trusts you?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you her sister, her brother?
Yeah.
Or her husband's...
No, man, I'm her brother.
You're her brother? Okay. So will you give her any of the money, or you just keep... so 100, 200, 300 for you, and 100 US. Yes. Well, I wouldn't be able to have sex with this beautiful girl if it wasn't for you two. So thank you very much. All right, let me just go and get my money for 500 for you. Sasha, come on, man. Come on the other room here.
Put your hand behind your head, stand.
Sit on the bed, Sasha. Okay, first of all, I want to tell you, you're not in trouble, okay? You're not in trouble. These are policemen, and what your uncle is doing is wrong, okay? He should not be selling you to me, and it's not your fault. Your uncle, he's an adult, and he should be looking after you, not selling you to Western men like me. This lady's name is Jan. This is Sasha, and she is here just to make sure that you're okay, and she will take care of you. We want to communicate to your uncle and to Tony that young girls like you who are 13 should not be sold so that they can make some money. I'm sorry I had to lie to you about what I was doing here, but we do this work because we want to help girls like you so that you don't have to be sold like a slave.
I believe what you saw happening in the video was where our uncle was telling his own niece to persons to basically have intercourse with, right? And that's why I say to persons, you have to be careful who you leave your children with, right? And who you entrust your children to. And this is why, for example, I said before, you have to be careful and monitor your children overall. One moment, let me pull it back up. All right. This is just a highlighted number from the Bureau of Gender Affairs. And with me showing you this video, now let me ask you, are there any questions or comments for me before I exit the stage today? Was the content clear? Go ahead.
Share with persons who don't know. Outside of advocacy, what else can we do, seeing that we're not a part of any organization that deals specifically with these issues? What can we do as just common Jamaican people outside of advocating for the issue?
All right. To be frank with you, I would not want to say to you to take up arms and do anything about it because trafficking trade, people will kill you. Straight up. It's a very dangerous trade. And most what I'd say to you to do is call the authorities to basically do what they need to do. I'm not sure if NATFATIP is currently doing any form of volunteer where you can actually become a volunteer. I can always inquire about that. But again, because it's a very sensitive matter, also very private matter, why not anybody can actually be involved in it. And oftentimes when they're doing certain things, oftentimes undercover operations, where, for example, they send out persons to pose as if to say that, for example, they're buyers. Because what they'll do as well is, they'll send out their persons to back road to go around there, to go and let them go buy things. And then basically this is how they're able to basically do their arresting and stuff like that. So I said before, what you can do at most is to tell persons about it. If you want us to come to your organization and talk not only about human trafficking, but other things that are affecting the population, glad that we're able to do that. But for right now, I'd say if you see any signs, even if you think it is, especially when it comes down to child trafficking, make a report about it. So that's what my suggestion to you is. Anybody else? All right, so it was clear as mud? All right. That being said, this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It has fallen in my lot to say thank you to our presenter, Mrs. Scarlett. I'm sure that we are all comfortable at this time after sitting and listening to all of this. I am appalled because when I sit and when I listen, I say, all these things are happening. We know it's happening, but we would not know that it was so real. Ms. Scarlett, I just want to thank you on behalf of the Spaldings and Christiana Red Cross group for taking time to come here to explain all this to us. It was wonderful. I'm sure everybody's going to leave here pondering, thinking, how do I help? And it was great. You did not pitch. You did not even say, you were just on the ball. You just know it from your toe down up. Give her a clap, everybody. Because I'm sure she did well. And as you go and continue, I pray God's blessing upon you.
Thank you very much.
And I also want to, on behalf of us, to present this little token to you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. All right, really appreciate it. And surprisingly, just saying quickly, this is not the first time that Miss Wallace and I have met. We have worked, she has attended one of our workshops before, looking at the whole thing of, understanding gender-based violence, right? And again, just saying this to persons in general, whilst you see me here in the capacity of talking about human trafficking, we also look at talking about other topics. We look at, for example, at the Bureau, sexual harassment in the workplace. We look at the whole thing of domestic violence as well, because I'm coming all the way from St. Anna, come cross over the I said before, in the hills and came over here. Said before, even when it comes down to domestic violence, a lot of times it may start out that way and end up into human trafficking. So persons, be aware, be on your guards, watch out, because again, this world is not the safe. It's not as safe as it was before. It's not as safe as before. All right? Thank you very much. I'll now hand back over to Miss Wallace. And when it comes down to trafficking, not everything can be said to you because some things have to be kept private. All right? Good.
Thank you so much, Miss Scarlett. And I want to say a big thank you to all the members of Spalding New Testament who have responded. I send the notice to other churches around. Is there anyone else here from any other church? Just raise your hand from any other assembly. Oh yes, my Red Cross members, they are from the different. And the members of the Red Cross, stand for me please. Stand so that you can be. Yes, and we have some members who were not able to be here because some are being honored at the Prime Minister Awards today, and so they are absent. And some because of work. Our secretary, for example, because of excess work, she hasn't been able to make it. But I'm very thankful to my colleagues from the Red Cross who have come here, and special thanks to Miss Nadine, who have been helping me to put things together for this event. And I just want to say to all of you, we are in this area as an active humanitarian group, and we always need volunteers. You can come on board and help us to help others as we serve. Our theme song is, if I can help somebody as I pass along, then my living shall not be in vain. God bless you. I now hand over to our young people. They're about to begin their service. So, yes, we have youth crusade going on, and the teens are in charge this evening. The little children the other nights, but the bigger ones are here now to go ahead. So if you're Thank you so very much still for coming. Please put your hands together for all of you. And I want to say a very, very big thank you to our bishop for allowing us the use of this, of the cathedral for this evening's meeting. God bless you.